Now that we know Vice President Dick Cheney and Senator Barack Obama are distant cousins.
In my book, there's a lot of genealogical research, you know, going back, Dick's family, my family, these heroic and amazing tales of people who went west. But one of the things I discovered is that Dick and Barack Obama are 8th cousins. What? Is that an amazing thing? Yes, if you go back 8 generations, really? They have a common ancestor.
The New York Post decided to check into the genealogy of President Bush, and his family tree has people talking.
Many of the United States presidents have blood relations with each other. The Bush lineage has blood ties to a great number of former presidents. George Washington, Millard Fillmore, Franklin Pierce, Abraham Lincoln, Ulysses Grant, Rutherford Hayes, James Garfield, Grover Cleveland, Teddy Roosevelt, William Taft, Calvin Coolidge, Herbert Hoover, Franklin Roosevelt, Richard Nixon, and Gerald Ford.
We all know his father, but what about his cousins? Check out this family tree, done with research by Ancestry.com. Let me take you through this, branch by branch. Vice President Dick Cheney, the man who's only a heartbeat away from the presidency, is actually a blood relation. He's President Bush's 9th cousin once removed. Cheney's cousin Barack Obama is also Bush's 11th cousin, and the 9th cousin of Brad Pitt.
In either of those first 2 books, though, who knew you and Dick Cheney cousins?
You know, listen, I don't think I'm going to the family reunion. I don't know how I'll be greeted.
Michael Tessarion points out in his work that Bush is closely related to every European monarch on and off the throne, and has kinship with every member of Britain's royal family. Bush's family tree can be documented as far back as the early 15th century. He has a direct descent from Henry III and from Henry VIII's sister Mary Tudor. He is also descended from Charles II of England.
What if we were to tell you that American presidents aren't chosen by ballot, but instead by blood?
Look, there's a...
That's right. The candidate with the bluest blood has won the race for president every time. And according to a man who writes things on the internet, 33 U.S. presidents are descendants of Emperor Charlemagne.
What's up? What's up? What's that? What's up? Who is it?
And it doesn't stop there. These guys aren't just related to royalty, they're related to each other.
But we're only just getting started. President Lincoln was President Bush's 7th cousin 5 times removed, and Bush shared more than just a ballot with John Kerry. That's right, they're 9th cousins twice removed. Princess Diana was Bush's 11th cousin twice removed.
But, no, you know, these folks have been doing all these genealogies on me, and right. You know, they've found all sorts of strange connections.
This has got to be the strangest thing.
Well, listen, if you go back far enough, you know, you got all kinds of crooks and thieves in your family.
Incest was practiced by ancient Egyptian royalty. Mothers married sons and brothers married sisters to keep the power and the money all in the family. Like their pharaonic ancestors, the British monarchy have a long history of incestuous inbreeding.
And then there's this bombshell.
Happy birthday, Mr. President.
Sure, she may have been singing to JFK, but what about GWB? He is, after all, her 9th cousin, 3 times removed.
Clinton's related to Ford, Bush is related to Cheney, and guess who Cheney's related to? That's right, Barack Obama.
What did you make of that story? For those who don't know this, so Lynn Cheney, the vice president's wife, has been doing some genealogy connected to her latest book, and lo and behold, way back, 8 generations ago?
8 generations or
you
something.
and Mr. Cheney apparently have some distant relative in connection. What did you make of that story when it came?
You know, I actually knew about it because somebody had done some genealogy before, and they had sent it to me, this long sheet, and, you know, had all these famous names, you know, Mark Twain and this and that and the other, and then Dick Cheney, and I took a pause. You know, I just said, well, you know, as long as he's okay with it, I'm okay with it too, because I'm not going to stop talking about these messed up policies in Iraq. just because
your cousin.
Yeah, we're not kissing cousins, as they say.
And we also find that George W. Bush is a direct descendant of Godfrey the Bullion. Godfrey was the first king of Jerusalem after he recaptured it from the Saracens, which was the name for the Islamic faith during the Middle Ages. It is interesting to note that the current occupation of the United States in the Middle East was re-established by the same family, George Bush Sr. in 1991, and again by George Bush Jr. in 2003. George Bush Jr. is then found to be a cousin to both opposing candidates of his 2 terms in office, Al Gore and John Kerry. Democratic President Barack Obama also has blood ties with George W. Bush, as well as Gerald Ford, Lyndon Johnson, Harry Truman, James Madison, and the British Prime Minister Sir Winston Churchill. On the opposing side of the 2008 presidential ballot, John McCain is descended from Robert the Bruce, King William I of Scotland, and also Godfrey the Bullion.
He's also related to Playboy founder Hugh Hefner, even Pocahontas, and Vlad the Impaler.
Well, Mitt Romney and Mike Huckabee are 10th cousins once removed, also known as kissing cousins. And Rudy Giuliani, well, he's just related to the mob.
Holy shit.
What about Hillary? Well, she's 10th cousins with Madonna and 9th cousins with Angelina Jolie.
I did not have sexual relations with that woman.
And of course, Barack Obama has said he doesn't think he and Cheney are kissing cousins, but Brad Pitt says if it's true, he's in great company.
It is a big idea, a new world order.
And when it was in Rome, that's when we had the creation of the Roman Empire and the creation of the Roman Church that became Christianity as we know it. I just want to pick 3 secret societies up that were formed around the time of the Crusades. In the 1100s they were formed and through into the 1200s. One of them was called the Teutonic Knights. Another one, the Knights Hospitaller of St. John of Jerusalem.
This crusade, one of the most massive, sweeping in history, was actually orchestrated by a secret brotherhood, the Priory of Sion and the Knights Templar.
19th century, artifacts and things were found, signs were found that the Templars had been under Temple Mount. Whatever, something changed very quickly after around 9 years, because a couple of these guys came back to France and started signing up these aristocratic families of Europe. They clearly knew something big time.
The papacy declared these Priory Knights, these Knights Templar, of limitless power. By the 1300s, the Templars had grown too powerful. All across Europe, the Pope had declared the Knights Templar Satan worshippers. Said God had charged him with cleansing the earth of these heretics. The plan went off like clockwork. The Templars were all but exterminated. The date was October 13th, 1307, Friday.
Friday the 13th.
And they went runabout. They almost certainly went to the Americas, because the knowledge of the Americas existed and goes back a long way in the secret knowledge line.
By the name of Adam Weishaupt forms a secret society known as the Order of the Illuminati.
Charles Taze Russell, who created the Jehovah's Witness movement, along with others, Merovingian bloodline, buried under a pyramid in America. Joseph Smith, who started the Mormon Church, which is an Illuminati front, big time in Salt Lake City, Merovingian bloodline.
The secret meeting of the world's power elite. At Yale University, the scions of America's first families confess their sexual exploits from a gruesome coffin. In a smoke-filled room, a handful of power brokers manipulate the global economy.
On May 14th, 1948, the State of Israel is reborn.
Personally, I do not believe that the Bible addresses such issues as
symbolizing fascism comes out of the Roman Empire, because these rods symbolize individuality tied together, ruled by the axe head here.
You still don't get it, do you, boys? There ain't no countries anymore. No more good guys. They're running the whole show. They own everything. What's wrong with having it good for a change? And they're going to let us have it good if we just help them. They're going to leave us alone. Let us make some money. You can have a little taste of that good life, too. Now, I know you want it. Hell, everybody does.
You do it to your own kind.
What's the threat? We all sell out every day. Might as well be on the winning team.
Satan's greatest trick was convincing man he didn't exist.